Before you even open your eyes completely, before checking your phone or thinking about the day's commitments, there is a sacred moment. It's when your soul is still quiet and God whispers, "I'm here, breathe, start over with me," starting. The day with gratitude is not just a positive attitude, it's a spiritual posture. It's recognizing that despite the challenges to come, there is something precious in simply being alive. Giving thanks in the morning is like unlocking your heart and allowing God's peace to enter first, before the noise of the world. It's a powerful choice to focus on what you have, not what you lack, because those who give thanks early walk lightly all day. The Bible doesn't say to give thanks only when everything is going well. It tells us to give thanks in all circumstances, 1 Thessalonians 5:18, because gratitude doesn't depend on the situation. It depends on our faith. Gratitude is like a key that opens invisible doors, doors of peace, wisdom, provision, and even miracles. When you choose to give thanks, even in uncertainty, you're telling heaven, "I trust you," and that trust moves the heart of God. It's in the hardest moments, when you give thanks with tears in your eyes, that heaven moves most powerfully, because gratitude doesn't just change how you feel, it changes the spiritual atmosphere around you. It activates promises, it attracts favor, it opens doors. There is a huge difference between saying thank you out of habit and expressing true gratitude from the heart. The first is automatic, superficial, often learned through manners or repeated without thought. But the second is powerful. It's when you pause, take a deep breath, and deeply acknowledge all that God has done for you, even in the simplest things. Thanking God with your heart means seeing His care in the details, in the air you breathe, the food on your table, the strength that sustained you yesterday. That kind of gratitude touches God's heart because it comes from a real relationship, not religious formality. That's when gratitude stops being a phrase and becomes a lifestyle. Gratitude has a quiet but transformative power. It changes the way we see everything around us. When you cultivate a grateful heart, you start to notice beauty where you once saw only routine. What once seemed small, like a hug, a simple meal, or a new day, gains new value. Gratitude doesn't ignore problems. It teaches us not to be defined by them. It invites us to see God's care even in the chaos. And when your perspective changes, your soul finds rest. Life may still bring challenges, but a grateful heart begins to live with more lightness, hope, and purpose. Complaining is a subtle poison. It makes us focus on what's missing, what went wrong, what we don't have, and the more we complain, the more we drift away from peace. Gratitude, on the other hand, is like a spiritual weapon, silent but incredibly powerful. When you choose to give thanks even in difficulty, you're breaking the cycle of dissatisfaction. You're saying, "Lord, I trust you, even when I don't understand everything." Gratitude revives faith. It changes the climate of the heart and draws God's presence near. After all, God inhabits the praises of His people, and where there is gratitude, there is worship. How we start the day greatly affects how it unfolds. If you wake up already thinking about problems, obligations, and delays, it's like putting on a heavy armor of worrying. But when you begin your day with gratitude, even for simple things like the air you breathe or the roof over your head, your perspective shifts. You begin to see what God is already doing, instead of just what is still missing. Morning gratitude is like turning on a light in a dark room. It reveals beauty where there was only anxiety, and that change in perspective transforms not just your mood, but your entire day. Faith is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. And gratitude is one of the most powerful ways to exercise that muscle. When you give thanks, even in the midst of difficulty, you're telling your heart, "I trust that God is in control." You start to remember the times He sustained you, delivered you, guided you, and that feeds your faith for today. Gratitude takes your focus off the problem and places it on the promise. It says, God has done it before, and He will do it again. And the more you give thanks, the more your faith grows. Even if circumstances don't change right away, often we get so focused on what we still lack that we forget all that we already have. And the truth is, when you start giving thanks from the heart, your eyes are opened. Things that once seemed small, like health, a place to sleep, someone who cares for you, suddenly become incredibly valuable. Gratitude is like a light that reveals the treasure hidden in the ordinary. Suddenly, what seemed common becomes a miracle. And when you recognize that, your heart fills with contentment, not because everything is perfect, but because you are finally seeing with the right eyes, the eyes of faith and appreciation. There are moments when the heart feels like a storm, anxious, worried, restless. In those moments, stopping to give thanks might seem counterintuitive, but that's when gratitude becomes medicine. When you begin to remember the blessings, the doors God has already opened, the deliverances you didn't even see, something inside you calms down. The soul finds shelter in the memory of God's faithfulness. Gratitude disarms anxiety because it shifts your focus. Instead of thinking about what might go wrong, you remember everything that has already gone right by God's grace. And so, peace gradually replaces distress. Thanking God before you even see the answer is a powerful act. When you choose to be grateful in the waiting, even without understanding everything, you're saying through your actions, I trust you, Lord. It's like planting seeds of faith in the soil of hope. In this way, gratitude is not just a feeling, it's a choice, a declaration of trust. You're not saying everything is perfect, but that God is still good, even when your eyes can't yet see it. This kind of gratitude opens spiritual doors, strengthens the heart, and prepares the ground for miracles. Gratitude has an immediate and powerful effect on our emotional state. When you pause, even for just a minute, to give thanks, whether for the air you breathe, your life, or even for the lessons learned through pain, something shifts inside you. The mind calms, the heart slows down, and the soul finds order. Gratitude breaks the cycle of complaint and shifts us from a scarcity mindset to one of abundance. It connects us to what is eternal and essential. It gives us energy, clarity, and lightness. Starting the day with gratitude transforms not only your spirit, but also your body and mind. Being grateful doesn't mean pretending everything is fine or ignoring pain. True gratitude is born when we're able to recognize that even in chaos, God is doing something. There is a greater purpose being built. Thanking God during the struggle is an act of faith. It's declaring, I don't understand yet, but I trust you are with me. When the Apostle Paul said, give thanks in all things, 1 Thessalonians 5:18, he spoke as someone who had suffered much, but who understood that gratitude strengthens, heals, and brings us closer to God. It's in that place that the soul finds comfort and meaning. Even through tears, discouragement tries to paralyze us, to make us forget God's promises. But gratitude is a powerful weapon against it. When you choose to give thanks, even without feeling like it, even when you're tired, something changes inside you. The atmosphere shifts. God's presence shows up. Gratitude is a spiritual act of war. Instead of feeding negative thoughts, you feed your faith, and faith activates miracles. Saying, thank you, Lord, because you are with me, is already a declaration of victory, even when everything seems to be falling apart. Gratitude breaks invisible chains that bind you to fear, doubt, and sadness. There is a kind of rest that doesn't come from a good night's sleep, but from a heart that has decided to trust God. And gratitude is the road that leads to that rest. When you choose to give thanks, even in the midst of chaos, you declare that you are no longer trying to control everything. You are trusting. Anxiety loses its grip when gratitude enters the scene, because you begin to realize that, despite the hardships, God has never let you lack what is essential. The soul calms when it recognizes that there is goodness even in hard days, and that awareness brings a peace the world cannot understand, but it completely transforms the one who lives it.